In the annals of Indonesian economic history, February 24, 2025, will be etched as a day of profound transformation. It was on this day that President Joko Widodo inaugurated Danantara, a colossal state-owned enterprise formed by the unprecedented merger of 7 major players in the nation's economy. These titans, comprising PT Pertamina, Mining Industry Indonesia, PT TPLN, PT Telkom Indonesia, PT Bank Rakyat Indonesia, PT Bank Negara Indonesia, and PT Bank Mandiri, were brought together under the banner of Danantara, with the ambitious goal of propelling Indonesia into a new era of economic prowess. The formation of Danantara marked a radical departure from the traditional fragmented approach to managing state-owned enterprises. The idea, as espoused by the government, was to create a national champion capable of competing on the global stage, attracting foreign investment, and spearheading large-scale infrastructure projects deemed critical for Indonesia's future. Danantara, with its consolidated resources and vast reach, was envisioned as the engine that would drive this ambitious agenda. The birth of Danantara was not without its share of controversy. Critics, from economists to civil society groups, raised concerns about the potential for monopolistic practices, the concentration of power in the hands of a few, and the lack of transparency surrounding the merger process. Questions were also raised about the government's true motivations behind the creation of Danantara, with some speculating that it was a move designed to consolidate power and control over key sectors of the economy. Despite the initial skepticism and concerns, Danantara became a reality, ushering in a new chapter in Indonesia's economic landscape. As the dust settled, the nation held its breath, watching with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension to see how this behemoth of a company would navigate the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. The success or failure of Danantara, it was clear, would have far-reaching implications for the Indonesian economy and its people for generations to come. The sheer scale of Danantara's financial might is staggering. With the merger of 7 of Indonesia's largest state-owned enterprises, Danantara now commands a colossal asset base exceeding $900 billion, a figure that dwarfs the GDP of many nations. This immense wealth, representing a significant portion of Indonesia's national assets, brings with it a profound responsibility: the need for prudent management, unwavering transparency, and strict accountability. The consolidation of such vast financial resources under the umbrella of a single entity presents unprecedented challenges for oversight and auditing. The Corruption Eradication Commission and the Supreme Audit Agency, the 2 key institutions tasked with safeguarding the integrity of Indonesia's finances, now face the daunting task of scrutinizing an entity of unparalleled complexity and scale. The magnitude of Danantara's assets raises concerns about the capacity of existing oversight mechanisms to effectively detect and prevent potential irregularities. The sheer volume of transactions, the intricate web of subsidiaries and investments, and the sheer size of the entity itself create a labyrinthine structure that could potentially obscure fraudulent activities or mismanagement. This unprecedented concentration of financial power necessitates a commensurate strengthening of Indonesia's oversight institutions. The Corruption Eradication Commission and the Supreme Audit Agency must be equipped with the necessary resources, expertise, and legal frameworks to effectively audit and monitor Danantara's operations. Failure to do so could have dire consequences, potentially undermining public trust in state institutions and jeopardizing the financial well-being of the nation. From its inception, Danantara has been shadowed by concerns regarding transparency and accountability. The sheer lack of clarity surrounding the merger process, the rationale behind the selection of participating state-owned enterprises, and the criteria for appointing key leadership positions within the Superholding have fueled skepticism among observers. A key point of contention has been the limited public disclosure of Danantara's financial dealings. While the government has touted the entity's potential to generate higher dividends and attract foreign investment, concrete details regarding investment strategies, projected returns, and risk mitigation measures have been scant. This lack of transparency has created fertile ground for speculation and fueled concerns about potential mismanagement and misappropriation of funds. Adding to the anxieties is the opaque process surrounding the appointment of Danantara's board of directors and key executives. Critics, including prominent anti-corruption watchdogs, have raised red flags about the lack of transparency and meritocratic principles in these appointments, alleging undue influence from political interests. The lack of transparency surrounding Danantara's operations is deeply troubling. It undermines public trust, thus creates an environment conducive to corruption, and raises serious questions about the government's commitment to good corporate governance. Without a concerted effort to address these concerns, Danantara risks becoming a breeding ground for cronyism, patronage, and the erosion of public funds. The formation of Danantara, while presented as a bold step towards economic efficiency and growth, has inadvertently created a fertile breeding ground for corruption. The sheer scale of the entity, coupled with the lack of transparency surrounding its operations, raises serious concerns about its vulnerability to graft, embezzlement, and abuse of power. One of the most glaring red flags is the potential for conflicts of interest. The consolidation of 7 major state-owned enterprises under one roof creates a complex web of relationships and overlapping mandates, increasing the risk of individuals in positions of power using their influence for personal gain at the expense of the entity and, ultimately, the Indonesian people. Moreover, the lack of clear and enforceable ethical guidelines for Danantara's board members, executives, and employees further exacerbates the risk of corruption. Without a robust framework to prevent conflicts of interest, promote transparency, and ensure accountability, the temptation to engage in corrupt practices could prove too great for some. The potential for corruption within Danantara is not merely hypothetical. The history of Indonesia is replete with examples of large-scale corruption scandals involving state-owned enterprises. From the Bank Century bailout to the Jiwasraya insurance scandal, the Indonesian public has witnessed firsthand the devastating consequences of unchecked greed and mismanagement within state entities. The stakes are simply too high to ignore the potential for corruption within Danantara. The government must act decisively to address the systemic vulnerabilities that plague the entity. This requires a multi-pronged approach that includes strengthening oversight mechanisms, promoting transparency and accountability, and fostering a culture of integrity within Danantara. Failure to do so could have catastrophic consequences for the Indonesian economy and erode public trust in the government's commitment to good governance.